If I ask you what wealth is, your eyes will probably see numbers. Millions in an account, a high-end engine roaring in the garage, a map of airline tickets pinned to the wall. It makes sense. Money is the loudest manifestation of abundance. But today, we're going to dismantle that illusion. True wealth isn't a bank deposit, it's software running in your brain. Its origin is invisible, silent, and, for most, completely unknown. It's in your mind, in that neural darkness, where the seed is sown for what later translates into opportunities, prosperity, and ultimately, money. The French philosopher Michel de Montaigne summed it up with an uncomfortable truth: poverty does not consist in having little, but in wanting infinitely more. This statement is a bombshell for the traditional notion of poverty. It's not about the absence of money, but about the chronic inability to find satisfaction, vision, and action with what you already possess. That unfocused hunger, that anxiety for the next acquisition, can turn a man with millions into a slave to his own desire. History lies to us about the origin of great fortunes. They weren't born in comfort, but in brutal deprivation, need, and above all, a desire so burning that it consumed the boundaries of reality. This isn't a motivational tale, it's the law of manifestation. Let's travel back in time to the man hardly anyone remembers, Edwin C. Barnes. He didn't have a penny. He had no connections. He hadn't even met his idol, Thomas Edison. His only asset was absolute conviction, a desire so surgically precise that he didn't want to be Edison's employee, he wanted to be his partner. Imagine the scene: a poor young man, in worn clothes, traveling on a freight train, presenting himself to the greatest inventor in the world and saying, "I've come to do business with you." The easy reaction would have been ridicule. But Edison, a man of vision, perceived the clarity of purpose in his eyes. Society didn't give him anything, it gave him a humble job, cleaning floors. The crucial part is what came next. Barnes accepted that job with the mindset of a CEO. In his mind, it wasn't a cleaning job, it was the first step, the perfect vantage point. When Edison created a machine that even his own salespeople feared was impossible to market, Barnes saw his Alaska. He bet on what others rejected. He sold it. With resounding success. And just like that, out of nowhere, Barnes landed the national distribution contract. He went from a poor unknown to a partner of a giant. The principle is relentless: the spark in the mind, sustained by intelligent and persistent action, becomes material wealth. If this is making you reflect on the true source of your wealth, subscribe now. We're about to rewire your mental software. You might be thinking, that story is old. The world is different today. And yes, the games have changed, but the mindset remains the same. Wealth isn't revealed where everyone looks, but where everyone laughs. Consider the story that borders on the absurd: William H. Seward, Secretary of State in 1867, buying Alaska from Russia for $7.2 million. The press tore him apart. They called it Seward's Folly, the icefield. He spent millions on a frozen wasteland. The ridicule was nationwide. Decades later, that useless ice revealed gold, oil, gas, and timber. It became one of the most profitable transactions in history. What connects Barnes, the poor dreamer, and Seward, the powerful politician? Both saw value where others saw only ruin or ridicule. Barnes gambled on a machine that was impossible to sell. Seward gambled on land that everyone called junk. The secret wasn't luck, it was the ability to look beyond the immediate and hold on to a possibility invisible to the rest of the world. Here's the first lesson of the golden mindset: wealth begins in the invisible, in what you imagine, believe in, and firmly hold on to, even alone. If you only focus on what's already proven and applauded, you'll be just another face in the crowd. Ask yourself, what idea do you have in your life that everyone would consider crazy or a waste of time? What personal project did you discard because no one would take it seriously? Perhaps there, right where people scoff, lies your Alaska. Your hidden opportunity is waiting for someone with Barnes's determination and Seward's vision to dare to give it value. Because in the end, the rich don't know something you don't, they dare to act on what others see as foolishness. The world will laugh at first, but time always ends up bowing to the bold one who thought differently. The radical difference between those who achieve wealth and those who remain in scarcity is not material resources, but the quality of their thinking. Your mind is, literally, the first asset of any fortune. The philosopher James Carr spoke of finite games and infinite games. Poverty mindset sees money as a scoreboard that is earned, accumulated, spent, and displayed. Its vision is short-sighted, geared toward an immediate victory. Wealth mindset thinks, how do I ensure that my money, my systems, and my knowledge continue to generate opportunities and keep going indefinitely? For them, wealth is not a trophy, it is a living, self-sustaining system. The rich seek to remain in the game, to expand it. The poor settle for a fleeting victory that leaves them exhausted. The boundary is the horizon of your thinking. Those who think short-term look for money for the weekend or the next month. Those who think long-term look for assets, structures, and systems that will keep them in the game for decades, even for the next generation. But here's where a fascinating trap comes into play: Jevons paradox. In the 19th century, it was observed that when technology became more efficient at using coal, total coal consumption increased, not decreased. Efficiency fueled demand. Applied to money, many people believe that if they earn more, they will automatically save more. False. In practice, as income increases, expenses escalate. Bigger house, more expensive car, more luxuries. The vicious cycle of, the more I have, the more I spend, traps millionaires and wage earners alike. Your wealthy life can become a more luxurious, but equally restrictive, cage if your mindset isn't trained. A gold-minded approach doesn't use a jump in income to inflate your lifestyle, but rather to create assets that keep you in the game for the long haul. Jevons paradox is a brutal reminder: economic efficiency is worthless without a solid mindset. Turn on notifications, because what's coming, the way Kodak lost an empire, is the ultimate lesson on how immediate fear paralyzes the infinite game. You won't want to miss this. Let's talk about Kodak. The company that dominated photography during the 20th century. In 1975, a Kodak engineer invented the first digital camera. They had the future in their hands. What did they do? They hid it. Their fear was so great that they believed this innovation would destroy their core business, selling film. Betting on digital was, in their logic, suicide. The result is history. Decades later, other companies launched into the digital market, film disappeared, and Kodak, with all its talent and resources, went bankrupt. This is the most painful example of how mindset dictates destiny. A multi-billion-dollar company allowed itself to be paralyzed by the fear of losing a momentary advantage. Instead of thinking like an infinite player, adapting and leading change, they played a finite game, protecting their obsolete film. The fear of losing made them lose everything. How many times have you been like Kodak in your own life? How many ideas have you discarded for seeming too risky? How many personal projects have you buried because they threatened your immediate comfort or the little money you already have? The wealthy mind understands that all material resources are secondary to the ability to think big and long-term. Money is lost. The mind that thinks like an infinite player will always find a way to reinvent itself, to create value again, because its supreme asset remains intact. Your challenge is clear: are you playing a finite game, earn a little, show it off, and burn out, or an infinite game, grow, expand, and sustain yourself in the process? Master your mind, or your income will always be ahead of you, leaving you trapped in the rat race. True wealth demands a price that is rarely paid with money: the courage to think differently, to clash with the consensus, to face ridicule and incomprehension. The thinker Nassim Taleb defined it with brutal force: wealth is what protects you from the world when all structures collapse. It's not just money, it's a shield of resilience. And that shield is built by those who dare to imagine new structures, even if they seem absurd at first glance. Consider Walt Disney. In the 1950s, his idea for a giant theme park, Disneyland, was rejected by dozens of investors. To them, it was a childish delusion, madness. Bankers shut the door on him because his vision wasn't just another park, it was a universe of magical experiences. Disney had to uphold that vision alone, facing ridicule and financial hardship. His wealth didn't come from consensus. It came from his ability to believe in the impossible, and in the end, that madness revolutionized global entertainment. Now, a twist beyond the absurd. Irwin Corey, the New York comedian who for years dressed as a beggar and asked for alms in the streets. Upon his death, it was discovered that he was a millionaire and had donated his fortune to humanitarian causes. People saw him as a vagrant. In reality, he was a millionaire who had chosen the freedom of anonymity, proving that true wealth doesn't need public validation. His money was in his impact, not his clothes. Thinking differently comes at a price. Sometimes it's ridicule, Disney, sometimes it's loneliness, Barnes, and sometimes it's giving up social recognition, Corey. But discomfort is the indicator that you're blazing a new trail. How many of your best ideas have you discarded for fear of what others will say? Every time you give up thinking differently to fit the mold, you move further away from the golden mindset. Wealth demands intellectual and emotional courage. We've arrived at the ultimate metric, the one that rarely appears in financial statements, freedom. Henry David Thoreau expressed it with surgical precision: a man is rich in proportion to the number of things he can do without. This phrase dismantles consumer society. Every possession, every inflated luxury, every debt, is an invisible chain. What good are millions if you're a slave to your schedule, your company, or a lifestyle that demands tireless work to sustain it? The true measure of wealth is how much you can do without the unnecessary, without your life losing its meaning. Think of Daniel Suelo, the Colorado man who in 2000 renounced his bank account. He left his money in a phone booth and lived for 14 years without income. He survived through mental discipline, nature, and spontaneous generosity. This isn't an invitation to imitate him, but a powerful reminder: attachment to money is a prison. By renouncing it, Suelo found a freedom that many millionaires would envy. Your true wealth isn't measured by the number of zeros in your bank account, but by your dependence on them. The more you rely on a steady stream of income to sustain an extravagant lifestyle, the less free you will be. The golden mindset understands that money is a tool to buy what truly matters: free time to decide, to create, to live life on your own terms. Many wise millionaires seek to simplify, not complicate. They value flexible schedules more than luxury cars. They do this because they understand that wealth that doesn't translate into freedom is a burden. Your relationship with money should be evaluated by asking, how much does it liberate me? If this video made you think differently, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to stop accumulating out of obligation and start accumulating freedom by choice. Wealth is not only built, it can also be lost. And the difference between those who preserve it and those who go bankrupt lies in their ability to learn from the mistakes of others. Few stories resonate as powerfully as that of Ronald Wayne, Apple's third co-founder. In 1976, he signed a contract with Jobs and Wozniak, acquiring 10% of the company. Days later, overwhelmed by the financial risk and the prospect of debt, he sold his stake for a mere $800. Today, that 10% would be worth over $200 billion. Wayne wasn't naive, he was intelligent. But he lacked the most essential attribute of a golden mindset: risk tolerance and the ability to think in terms of nonlinear potential. He preferred the immediate security of $800 to the possibility of a fortune. His biggest mistake wasn't selling, but rather the risk aversion that prevented him from playing the infinite game. Wealth demands the courage to endure the discomfort of calculated risk. The wealthy don't avoid mistakes, they avoid the mistake of inaction due to fear. We have seen that wealth is not a destination, but a way of looking at the world. It is born in solitary vision, Barnes and Seward, sustained by endless play, Jevons, lost to the blindness of fear, Kodak, and its only true metric is freedom, Thoreau. Your mind is your supreme asset. The golden mindset is not just about how much you earn, but about what you are willing to see, endure, and let go of in order to be immensely free.